For this video, I will be examining narrative elements in the film Sideways. The film details a trip by two friends, Miles and Jack, to California's wine country in the week leading up to Jack's wedding. The two learn about one another and explore their thoughts and desires, often with the help of women and wine. The connections made between the characters and their approach to wine and its consumption provide great insight into their internal motivations and personalities. This relationship is on clear display in two scenes: Miles and Jack's arrival at their first winery and their subsequent first tasting, and a conversation later in the film between Miles and his love interest, Maya. Let's take a look at the first scene. As the scene begins, the sense of journey, both physical and psychological, is imparted by shots tracking the car and its inhabitants as they make their way into the heart of wine country. The scene is symbolic of the personal journeys each character is preparing to embark on. As Miles begins to explain wine growing and its particulars to Jack, he sets up a recurring motif, linking his personal enjoyment of the thin-skinned grape, which is Pinot Noir, to his own personality and view of himself, describing the grape as being very delicate. As the text explains, a motif is a significant, repeated element, and this one will serve to define Miles as a character. When Jack and Miles arrive, the differences in their personalities become immediately apparent through their different approaches to wine tasting. Throughout the scene, Miles instructs Jack in the subtleties of his very nuanced approach to wine. In smelling the wine, Miles claims to uncover multiple layers of scent, while Jack perceives only the most prominent and immediately apparent note. For Miles, the pleasure is derived from the whole experience with much contemplation and consideration, while Jack wishes only to drink the wine. This reflects how the characters will act for the rest of the film, with Miles putting great thought into every action he takes, occasionally to his own detriment, while Jack acts out of a desire for instant physical gratification. In the second scene, Miles explicitly reveals the reasons for his great love of Pinot Noir, and in the process gives a succinct statement of how he views himself. Responding to Maya's query about what draws him to Pinot, Miles again explains how thin-skinned and temperamental the grape is as it grows. He contrasts it with Cabernet, perhaps a reference to Jack, which he calls a survivor, able to grow under much harsher and more varied conditions than Pinot. He claims these deficiencies are acceptable, though, as the final product provides tastes which are both subtle and thrilling. Maya is shown to appreciate the double meaning throughout the speech, as she looks back pensively at Miles, appreciating his candor. Maya then goes on to explain her attraction to the complexity and living nature of wine, using her speech as an expression of her understanding and desire for Miles. Her reference to her good palate seems a statement of her believing herself capable of accepting and appreciating Miles as he is. At the scene's end, she attempts to physically express this, and Miles draws away, changing the conversation before leaving the scene. This embarrassment and inability to act on his emotions further defines Miles' character in contrast to Jack. Both scenes make use of an objective, restrictive perspective, following Miles and his companions, which, as the text discusses, helps to build suspense and uncertainty, as each action and line of dialogue must be considered for potential meaning in the given scene without the aid of character thoughts or additional information. However, the establishment of the wine motif provides an interesting insight into the characters' minds, making their seemingly mundane actions take on much greater significance.